Hi everyone, Alison again. Today we're looking at the shoulder and the shoulder girdle. So the shoulder girdle comprises of the chest, the upper arm and the upper back. Some of the areas that we're looking at cross over into the neck. So looking at my neck video can be really helpful, and loosening off through the whole neck and shoulder area. But we're just going to keep to the shoulder for this one. We're going to start by doing some warm-ups. So if you've already done a bit of a workout or something like that, you don't need to do the warm-ups. You'll be nice and warm through those muscles. But if you've been sitting at a desk all day and you're feeling tight and stiff, you're going to spend some time while you're watching telly doing a little bit of self-massage and stretching, or listening to some relaxing music. Then it's good to warm the muscles up a bit first. So doing some shoulder rolls and just straight up and down shoulder shrugs are good. And you can do some arm swings, just leaving those arms nice and free. You can swing around. Let's just get some blood flowing, helps to loosen up those muscles a little bit. Everything's more effective through the muscular system if you've got some blood flow happening. It means more oxygen, more nutrients, and we can do a few side bends as well, just to start some movement through the upper spine. This gets the lower spine too, but we might as well get as much as we can. And interlace fingers, stretch the arms away, drop the chin to the chest, round the upper back as much as you can. And then go the other way. If you interlace your fingers behind your back, squeeze the shoulder blades back. You can lift the arms if you like, they may not come up very far. And go from one to the other a few times. Okay, we can do some arm circles. Start off with some small circles. Getting bigger, getting nice big circles. And if you're feeling tight and stiff, and particularly, as I say, if you're working at a desk for long periods, just getting out of your chair and doing this on a regular basis is really helpful, and helps those muscles to keep working without getting so sore and tired. And then we'll do a bit of chest stretching, press and stretch. Don't work too deeply with these, you're warming up, you don't want to strain things, so it's just all about loosening. And we can do a few of these sorts of things. Okay, so now we've got a bit of warmth in there, we're going to do some self-massage to some of these sore muscles. And it doesn't matter too much whether you do the static stretching before or after the massage, but if you do a warm-up then do some massage, the muscle will be more elastic, more malleable, and you should hopefully be able to get a better stretch with it. So we come down to sitting. Now you can have a variety of things to use. We've got foam rollers, got massage ball and hands. So I'm going to start off with through the chest. So you've got your pec major, the big round chest muscle that brings the arms forward and lifts the arm and does your press ups and all those sorts of movements. So getting in, making a fist is a good idea, because you can use the knuckles on the sides of your thumb and get in there fairly firmly. Depends how big those muscles are on you. If you've got really big muscles, then you're obviously going to have to work a bit harder. People like me with little wee muscles, it's not so hard to get in deep. Use these knuckles as well, so I'm just generally giving it all a bit of a rub. Can be quite tender through here, far more tender than most people realise. And often this is the crux of the problem. If you're having pain through the top of the shoulder, the back of the shoulder, it's often because these muscles are too tight and pulling you forward and out of alignment. We'll loosen off both sides a bit. Get in, give that all a good firm rub. So we're loosening off pec major, but the main muscle that we really need to get into is pectoralis minor, which sits underneath pec major. So again, if you don't have big muscles through there, you may be able to feel pec minor underneath. You can use your fingers as well, just massaging around in circles. Managed to get quite long nails during COVID-19, not having to massage people. It's a bit of a treat, don't usually get long nails. Okay, so that's just generally warmed up through there. To get in a bit deeper, we can use one of our balls. This is just the same as this little rubber dog's ball, and it's in a sock. So with a sock, if you pop that over your shoulder, and you're less likely to use it. So I can come up to a corner wall is good. Furniture's not so good, the ball tends to slide on the sock, but I can move from side to side, and I can go up and down. Works better with this one because the rubber on the wood doesn't slide so much, and you can go, as I say, up and down. A few mini lunges in, and you can go side to side, and you can get in quite deeply with the ball. So it's a good idea, warm up a little bit with your hands, or if you're going to start with the ball, don't go too deeply in the initial stages. And we can go side to side again. So pec minor is attaching where your collarbone meets the front of the shoulder, and it comes down like 3 fingers onto ribs 3, 4 and 5, and it pulls your shoulder forward. So if you know that you're a bit round shouldered, then you definitely need to loosen this muscle off, and by loosening it off we can get our arms back a lot further. Our necks don't get scrunched so forward either, and it doesn't impact on all the muscles back here so much, because as you can imagine, the further forward this comes, the more the muscles at the back are working to try and hold you. And if you want to bring that arm up and back, if your shoulder's already very forward, you're going to struggle to do that. So then you start compensating by using your back, things like that. So we've loosened off through there. Now we're going to look at the front of the upper arm, so anterior deltoid, and that's the muscle through here. So again, this part of the arm's really good. You want to keep that arm nice and relaxed, so you can pop it in your pocket or rest it on your lap, something like that. And then medial deltoid. Medial deltoid lifts the arm out sideways, anterior is more through the front. And go sideways through there. Posterior deltoid gets a bit tricky to get to with your hands. And we'll do a little bit on the other side, so anterior deltoid, front of the shoulder. And shoulder pain's an interesting one because you get a lot of referral from muscles, and we'll go to medial deltoid. So you can have a muscle on the back of your shoulder that's referring all the way down into your elbow, and you'll think, well, I've got all this elbow pain, and it can be coming from your elbow, but it can also be coming from up here. So often working through all the muscles, you're more likely to find the guilty culprit. Okay, so we've loosened off through the deltoids a bit, and to get into that posterior deltoid, you can sort of squeeze and do this sort of thing. Gets quite tiring, but again, the ball comes in quite handy for that. So again, you can either use this one, or in a sock's better for the back areas. So get up against a wall, and you can get onto that posterior deltoid, which is the back of your upper arm basically, and you can slide up and down into that one. I'm going to look at the rest of the arm, the biceps, triceps and lower arm, in another video, so we'll go over that another time. So we can get into that posterior deltoid, and then we can start getting into all these muscles at the back. So your shoulder blades here, there's muscles on there that can get very sore, and then the muscles between the shoulder blades can also get very sore. So I can get my ball into that shoulder blade area. You're pretty safe through here. Again, it's good to have that arm floppy or just rest it in your pocket. And I'm just working from side to side through my shoulder blade. I can go up and down, little mini squats. Okay, and then I can start getting in between the shoulder blades. So I can go up and down. You just have to be careful with this one that you don't work the ball on the spine itself. You don't want to go breaking little bits off your spine. That's not a good idea. I'm going side to side, just getting that ball in all through the upper back. Great, and we'll do the other side. So ball in on the shoulder blade, side to side. You can use a tennis ball. I like these little rubber dog balls. I get them from Animates for about $4. The tennis balls tend to split after a while, and these ones just have a little tiny bit more give. They're also less general than the spiky balls are good too. This one's a lot bigger, so it has a wider pressure, whereas the smaller balls you get in a little deeper. It just depends what you're looking for, and you can use a combination of the two as well, obviously. The trick is to keep your balls away from the dog if you have one. My dog seems to realise that if the ball is in a sock, he leaves it, but if the ball is not in a sock, he seems to think it's fair game. So working between the shoulder blades, again, these muscles called your rhomboids, your middle trapezius, and you have some spinal erectors in there as well. So there's a few muscles. You've got a lot of muscles crossing the shoulder joint and between the spine and your shoulder blades. Okay, so we've given all that a fairly good warm-up. You can certainly spend longer than that, and tend to think it's a good idea to approach this two ways. You can either do a little often, so a few minutes every day, or you can do a few longer sessions, do 2 or 3 sessions a week, but give yourself time in between, because massaging the muscles is a bit like having a workout. You can have a very light workout every day, no problem. If you're going to work hard into the muscle in a workout, you wouldn't work the upper body every single day. You get overload through the muscles, so you do the same with your massage. Okay, so the other area I haven't looked at is upper trapezius. You can get in and give all that a bit of a squeeze, and you can give it a rub. I go into that one a bit more detail on the neck video, so if you're certainly getting sore on this part of the shoulder, check out the neck video, because a lot of that is in there. Okay, so we can also foam roll. Doesn't really work so well for the front of the chest, certainly not for women. Men might be able to foam roll a little easier through the chest, but it does work quite well for the upper back. So you can either use a hard bobbly one, which is a lot more uncomfortable, or a smoother one like this. So if you're going to work through the upper back, I find the easiest thing to do is interlace your hands and just take the weight of your head in your hands. It stops you having to overwork through the front of the neck. You can relax a bit better, and also you can work out where you want your shoulders. So if I go elbows wide, I'm starting to get into that shoulder blade area a bit as well. Or I can get a little more specific on my upper back if I bring my elbows in and round my upper back more. Okay, so So loosening all that off can be really helpful. Generally, you will get sore through here because you're too tight through here. It's pulling the shoulders forward and really overstretching the muscles between the upper back. So again, make sure you do plenty on the front to loosen off through there. You probably need to do more here than you do on the back. But most people will find, well, it's sore on the back, so they just want to rub the back. Okay, so we've foam rolled. We've worked on the shoulder blades. Now, coming into the stretching, it's a good idea to get in front of your mirror. On a full length mirror. Put your arms down by your sides, and if you close your eyes, give your arms a good shake, give your legs a shake, and then stand and move into a position that feels completely natural for you. And then have a look in the mirror to see where your hands are, or if you don't have a mirror, just look where your hands are. Now ideally they should be where mine are sitting. Okay, my palms are lining up with the seam on my pants and my thumbs are facing forward. If you're standing there like this, you have very tight internal rotators. There are muscles on the inside of your shoulder blade that turn your hands in. And if they're very tight, they also need loosening off. And a major cause of those becoming so tight is being internal rotation all day while you're on a computer. Okay, if you are doing that, one of the best things you can do is sit in your desk chair. Hopefully it's not too high. Interlace your fingers behind your back and just leaning back over the chair and opening up, and that is going to help stretch the muscle that does internal rotation, your subscapularis, and it will also help stretch your pec minor muscle. So stopping every 20 to 40 minutes and doing this, check out the ceiling and arch your back the opposite way, because especially when you get tired, you tend to creep closer to the computer, and that will help to reverse that posture, which is really helpful. So any pec stretch will also get that subscapularis, so there's that. You can also interlace fingers behind your back, and the important thing with this one is that you bring those shoulders back and down. You see people doing this, but my shoulders are still rolled forward. I've got my arms up, but my form is terrible. So it's more about shoulders back and down. Doesn't matter if the hands come up high or if they stay down low. It's more about getting that shoulder back and opening through here. Okay, so that's an easy one to do fairly regularly throughout the day. You can hold that for about 30 seconds. The other one is doorway. So you can get in a doorway or an angled wall piece of furniture. To get pec minor, the arm needs to be at about 45 degrees from the head. You want to come forward and rotate away. And you should be feeling that in there. Now, if this hurts, particularly on the top of your shoulder or the back of the shoulder, then you don't want to do this that high. You'd be better to stick with that one or the arm down low. Come forward, rotate away. That will still hit into pec minor. If you're coming up high and it's hurting at the back, you're impinging those sore muscles back there and possibly aggravating them. Swap and do the other side. I'm going to do the same one, otherwise I've got my back to you. The other thing you can do if you can't lift your arm high is you bring it to a position that's comfortable, and then you wiggle yourself down. Okay, and that will often do the trick. You can get into this position because I haven't had to use my muscles to lift my arm, so sometimes if it's a purely muscular problem, you can do this without any pain. Okay, you find to feel some tightness in there though. Alright, so that's the front of the chest. If you're getting numb, tingly hands, wake up in the morning, numb, tingly hands, it's often very tight pec minor. The nerve and blood supply to your arm run underneath pec minor, and when that gets short and tight, it goes shorter and fatter, and that can compress the nerve and blood supply to your arm, and that's worse if you're doing things like biking or you're all curled up fast asleep. So if you're getting a lot of that, could be other things like heart issues too, but if it's both sides and you know, once you shake your hands it all comes back to normal, then it's most probably tight pec minor. Okay, we're going to look at supraspinatus, one of your rotator cuff. Lift your arm with your medial deltoid, and it'll often give you pain all the way down through here. Very difficult one to stretch. Ideally, to stretch it, I would take hold of my wrist and pull it right through the midline of my body, but that obviously can't be done. You can bring it across. Don't find that works so well, but going behind, you'll often feel a little bit more of a stretch. You're sort of aiming to feel a bit of a stretch through that bony bit at the top of the shoulder there and down through here. So just pulling that arm across, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. You can take your head to the opposite side as well. You can give your upper traps a bit of a stretch at the same time. And upper traps and some of the other neck muscles are in the neck video. Okay. Anterior deltoid you get when you do pec minor, and pec major you get more at that height, so you can also stretch in that position. Good idea to play around with it and do them at different heights. Okay, so then you've got infraspinatus on the back of the shoulder blade, rotates the arms that way. That's the opposing muscle to the subscap that rolls them that way. And to get into that one, and your rhomboids through the upper back here, and also into your lats. We didn't massage that, but you can kind of roll around on a foam roller to get into your lats. You can get into a doorway, place your hand in the door frame and drop back, and you'll start to feel that in through here. Now you need to play around with this one a little bit. If I'm straight on, I'll get more lats. If I rotate all the way around and then drop my weight, I'll get more into here and between the shoulder blades. And it can also depend what height you're at. You can try going up high, and I'm feeling that more up high. It does get into that that infraspinatus and posterior deltoid up higher. Or you can come down a bit lower. Just play with it. You play around with where your feet are, the height of your hand. You can do it on the kitchen bench, can be quite good. Take hold of the sides of the bench and just drop back and do both sides at once. Play with it, as I say. Okay, now there is a very good side stretching position for pec minor, and with this one you get to lie down, which is always a bonus. So nice that you can have a pillow if you've got a pillow handy, or some sort of bolster, and you're going to lie on your side. So I'm going to one knee on top of the other, leave my hips on the side, so the side of my hips pointing at the ceiling, rolling onto my upper back. This one depends very much on your flexibility as to where you need to be. So if I was very inflexible, my arm might be up here, and that's too high. So in that case, I'd roll onto my back further. If my hand's down on the floor, I'm really not going to get much of a stretch at all. So I'll roll until I'm in a position where my arm is up off the floor. And in this position I'm getting pec major, and I can just work on up until my arm is about 45 degrees from my head. Should have shifted the foam roller. Okay, and that's hitting into pec minor. So this is a good one because you can just lie here and allow that arm to move, and when you hit a spot that feels really tight, you can just stay there for a while. Now some people are so tight that they need to be there for a while before they actually even start to feel anything. Some of my clients are so very tight, they say no, can't feel anything, and then after a bit they say, oh yeah, I can feel that. Okay, so the other thing you can do with this one is get yourself by a wall, and you can walk your fingers down the wall as you rotate your arm, your body the other way, and that will increase the stretch. The other thing you can do, I can't with this piece of furniture, but if you've got a piece of furniture that's got a gap between the floor and the base of the furniture, put your fingers underneath that and then slowly roll away from it, and that will give you an increased stretch as well. Okay, so swapping and doing the other side. Now with this one, if you're finding that you are getting pain in the back of the shoulder, then you either don't do it or reposition yourself so that you're not getting pain. So if I get my pillow in underneath my shoulder so there's not as much stretch happening, sometimes that's enough and you can get into that position and it's okay. If you're very flexible, you may have to get rid of the pillow altogether or move it right across, otherwise you won't get much stretch and you have to pull your body over a lot further. You also need to be aware of how your upper back feels. Not upper back, lower back, sorry. Because you don't want to create pain down there. You'll have to stick to the doorway stretches if that's the case. Okay, so I will leave you on that note. You can keep stretching your pecs if you like. It just feels so good doing that stretch. It's a good one to do in bed. You can do it lying in front of the telly. Good to get the kids involved. Dogs always love it when you lie on the floor like that too, come and jump all over you. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks a lot.